A very good evening and a warm welcome to Personal Finance. I'm Gugulethu Cele. Today I'm joined by Old Mutual Research Manager Lynette Nicholson for a closer look at why the sandwich generation and its debts are growing. Now, that's according to the findings of the 2015 Old Mutual Savings and Investment Monitor. So good to have you with us today, Lynette.
Hi, thanks so much.
Maybe before we actually unpack the pressures that the sandwich generation is under, a quick refresher as to who and what the sandwich generation is?
Sure. So the sandwich generation is that generation of people that are sitting between another two dependent generations. So let me just explain. So somebody is providing for their own retirement, but they're also providing for dependent children or dependents, and they're also providing for aging parents or family members. So they're wedged in the middle of the sandwich, and so there's almost three generations that they have to provide for, their own and the other two.
Children and their parents. And I understand you've been monitoring this for quite a while, and the numbers actually are growing in South Africa.
Yes, they are. We've seen a marginal increase this year. So we're sitting at our Savings and Investment Monitor measures the percentage of working metropolitan households, how many of them are in the sandwich generation. This year it's just risen marginally, but that's something that we expected and we need to watch. It's risen to 25%. It was 21, 23, so now it's the highest we've seen in our history of the monitor.
But I think it's quite scary because it paints a picture of a highly indebted group of individuals whose financial responsibilities just stretch too far. That's why they have to tap into debt.
Absolutely, but it really comes about because of two key factors. And the one is that people are living longer. So you've got aging parents that may be living to 80, 90, and their pensions didn't stretch that long.
Sure.
Okay. So that's the one phenomenon. And the other is that people are tending to have children later in life. So as you're getting, you've still got dependent children on children dependent on you as you get older, whereas you should be freeing up, those funds or that money to put into your retirement. You now still have that dependency.
What about the level of financial education here? Because you think that, as you say, they live in metropolitan areas, they have good jobs. Surely they should have sufficient financial plans in order to prepare for their own needs, especially for retirement, as well as that of their children, and maybe have spare change around to help their parents.
We would hope. We would hope. But I think, we all know that the cost of living is going up, things are getting more expensive, medical expenses are going up. Children are staying at home longer. So our last study, we found out that the average age of children leaving home these days is 27.
Wow.
Which is rather alarming. And then what you also have is this generation of children that leave home but then come back. We call that the boomerang generation. And it's quite a nice name, but that was sitting at about 17% of children that had left home but were coming back. So you've also got that, things are expensive, property's expensive, cars are expensive. So it's much better to come home back to mom and dad and get that. And then that eats into mom and dad's pension funding. So one would think, or one would hope, but what does one do? You will take your children back and you're not going to see your family members, your older family members, your parents struggle. So it's quite a difficult situation.
Precisely. But do they understand the types of financial responsibilities that they tie themselves into, especially when it comes to debt? Do they understand that maybe a personal loan comes with a very high rate of interest versus, alternative means of saving and preparing for emergency buffers?
Well, interesting, our data shows that if you look at the sandwich generation compared to, we call them non-sandwichers, the sandwich generation, they are telling us, about 1 in 3 are telling us, it's around 28%, are saying that they have overdue debt.
Sure.
So they're either 1 month in arrears on debt, 2, 3, or any more. Whereas compared to the non-sandwich generation, that's sitting at about 15%. Now, of course, when you ask people about debt, you probably are getting an underclaim in our survey, because
no one wants to admit got financial problems.
So it's probably a bit higher. I can't say how much, but certainly there's that difference between people that are in the sandwich generation and need perhaps to take out personal loans or in another form of debt to help carry them through the responsibilities that they have financially.
Are they making use of the practical assistance that institutions like the one that you represent, Old Mutual, help to provide when it comes to conquering your debt, having savings and building on your investment cover and covering your risk, whether it's insurance or retirement. Are they open to such products available on the market?
You know, we find a very interesting thing is that the more people get into debt or that they get financially stressed, the less they seek help.
Sure.
And that's also quite interesting. And we've delved into this and we found that it's actually a simple reason. When you are in a lot of stress, financial stress, a lot of debt, you actually don't really want to go and uncover all that to somebody out there. You feel embarrassed, a bit, you know, and you don't really want that, which is actually the time that you do need it.
True.
So that's a whole kind of psychological, behavioral thing that we need to kind of look at and overcome. And, you know, when you are in that situation, that is when you need somebody to help you structure, help you budget, and so forth.
Are there practical tools, though, and remedies that those in the sandwich generation and the non-sandwiches can actually help implement to hopefully see a reduction in the number of people in the sandwich
I think, you know,
generation?
it is a worldwide phenomenon as well. So when you look around and you start looking at the other countries, it might not be at our level, but it is, especially in the States, you see a lot of that as well. And they even have in the States what they call a sandwich generation month.
Really?
In the year, like we have a savings and investment month,
Oh, wow.
savings month. They have a sandwich generation month where, you know, the whole focus of the nation is on this. But having said that, you know, I think there's practical tips, and it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are a young person starting out. You need to look at what is happening. Look at your parents, look at what they're having to do and the financial burdens that they're sitting with, and try and not get into that situation yourself. Very difficult. And of course then for the older people and the ones that are living longer, make sure that your pensions are sound, that you're perhaps putting in a bit more because you are going to live, hopefully, a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Don't cash your pensions in and take out what you can when you pay, you know, when you change jobs.
Which is another trend in South Africa.
Absolutely. So preserve. So that's a big message. The rather scary fact as well is when we look at who are these people in the middle, the sandwich generation. Before, we used to see it was generally the older people, like the baby boomers and that. We're seeing that creeping down. And we even have Y generation people, which are those people born 1980 to now, really.
Wow.
Being quite, it's quite a big frequency of them in the sample that are saying, you know what, it's just what I have to do.
Sure. What about financial education? Because clearly this means that maybe the baby boomers didn't do something right to teach the Y generation, and now even the millennials who are coming up about sound financial advice. And it almost seems as though it needs to start at home.
Absolutely, it needs to. And I would say it probably even needs to start at school.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, our education system does have some sections around budgeting and that, but really it needs to take a really good look at that. And then as you get older, go through high school, go through university, that is where it really needs to come. What we did also this year is we did a millennial survey as well. Very young, starting out in your first job. How are you managing your finances? And I'm sure we'll release that as it comes along. But really what we're seeing there is, you know, people are going, well, we say to them, do you save? These are all people working full-time. Do you save for long-term retirement? No. Why? Why? I'm young. I've got so many years to do that. And, you know, I suppose we really need to get in and get, and I don't know the answer right now, but the education, financial education is a huge issue.
I know that some institutions like Old Mutual once again do drive such initiatives, but do we also find that consumers are purchasing the right products? Because another trend in South Africa is that people tend to get more funeral cover or life insurance, but don't plan appropriately for retirement, which actually means that whilst they're alive, they're not worth much, but hey, should they die, their beneficiaries will actually be sitting pretty.
Yeah, and I think, you know, financial products aren't generally easy products to buy.
Yeah.
So we as the financial sector need to ensure that we make the products simple, easy to understand, and that it absolutely suits what the consumer needs.
Yeah.
And I think there is a way to go there, but I think it's getting better, and I think that's where the sound advice comes in. You know, so where you seek sound advice, sit down with somebody. You know, we're finding a lot of times that this study is word of mouth. Is very, very popular.
Yeah.
And that's great, because we all want to talk to somebody and hear their experience and get that. But on the other hand, we also need kind of the expert side, you know, to counterbalance that.
True.
So yeah, it's all around advice and getting sound advice, getting trusted advice, and then sorting out, or, you know, making sure that it's best for you in your situation.
Lynette, we've said quite a bit, and it's a heavy topic to grasp, but for those who are in the sandwich generation and even those who are younger, who hopefully will bring a stop to this particular trend, what key things do they need to remember from this research when it comes to their financial planning?
So I think first of all is start saving as early as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first one. And the second one is, as you get older and you know, you're in your working life, make sure you understand what your pension is, what this is going to mean. So make sure, you know, we very often stick our head in the sand and just hope that it's all going to be all right. Make sure you understand what you'll have, how long that will last you potentially, etc. So be informed.
Yeah.
That's another key one. And then I think thirdly would be around get some type of advice that you trust, that you you know, that somebody can really sit with you and just work through it with you, because it's not an easy thing.
Exactly. Thank you so much for your time today, Lynette. Hopefully we'll conquer the sandwich generation trend, even though it is a worldwide battle, as you say. Well, that's where we leave it for Personal Finance this evening. A big thank you once more to Lynette Nicholson, who is from Old Mutual. Do be sure to get in touch with us and send us your views and thoughts on the show, together with the sandwich generation, and tell us if you are part of it and how you're managing with the financial responsibilities you face. You can send us a tweet at CNBC Africa using the hashtag Finance410, or to myself at Gukumfupi. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.